Anti-Fear. Activate Your Invincibility. Book written by Pablo Marçal, translated by Rod Esteves. Your biggest emotional stronghold has roots with your purpose. My life's purpose was clarified in a very unusual way. In 2006, I stumbled upon an opportunity to be a candidate for a position as training instructor at one of Brazil's biggest phone companies called Operadora Telefônica Brasil Telecom. I remember people trying to discourage me, saying, "You stutter. You are not going to make it because you are too young. You just got here and already want to sit by the window?" In that moment, I was just a kid who answered phones in the call center. I filled out an application for the position and didn't pay attention to the details. Maybe you have experienced something similar, but I want to invite you to be with me in this journey. Are you ready? In the day of the interview, every person was dressed in suits, PowerPoint presentations ready, hair combed nicely with hair gel and impressive postures. I had shorts and a t-shirt on, skater shoes, hair down to my shoulders, and no PowerPoint presentation because I had not prepared anything due to my lack of attention. I will never forget the expression of people's faces in that room. I have never felt so humiliated and left out. However, I was able to truly redirect that energy and I felt irate. It was the first time I was able to transform fear into energy, and the result was incredible. As I was totally unprepared, I did not volunteer myself to be the first to present. As I was left to be the last, I started to notice the way the recruiters were scoring the candidates and what actually moved the heart of each one of them. Finally, it was my turn, and the question came: "Where is the pen drive with your PowerPoint presentation?" I took a deep breath and responded, "I have something better than PowerPoint." I opened the browser and accessed the company's intranet with my login information, accessed the procedures area, and started my presentation. I just asked questions to whoever was watching. What is this intranet for? Is there everything necessary to provide a good service? How can this be better? Do you know the reason that the Roman Empire have governed the planet for almost 1,000 years? Do you know what was the weight of a Roman soldier's shield? Did you understand the relation between the Roman Empire and Brazil Telecom? How can training procedures make the company last hundreds of years? The first questions created a sensation that I was trying to buy time and fool the interviewers. But when I started questioning about the Roman Empire, the atmosphere changed. This sort of catch came to my mind due to the word training, something powerful that sustained the empire and everything that made them prosper for centuries, to begin with the simple fact that the Roman Empire was always surprised with its adaptability and changing their modus operandi, the way they battled. Then I said, Brazil Telecom is a great empire, and to continue expanding, we need to train every single person with us. And being a call center operator, I noticed we are not passionate about our training procedures because every person does as they want and does not value what is already in place. This is a company that is definitely not remembered for being excellent in what it does. Everyone was shocked because the presentation was supposed to be technical about internet and web, but I did not even touch the subject. It was an activation moment where I needed to show them the fact that by simply changing the intention and turning to the development of people and activating their passion, that we could change completely the course of history for that company. People need to love and have fun with what they do. Otherwise, they will only do the necessary and usually very carelessly. And I continued to say, I am not here for the position, but for the necessity in making Brazil Telecom expand and dominate with excellence in what we do best, which is connect people and provide good service for each one of them. Wow. Can you imagine this? It was a shocking moment to see the interviewers change in behavior. And because of this transformation, I knew I was going to be selected. And this is exactly what happened. One of the interviewers that did not want to hire me for the position years later was led by me when I achieved one of the highest positions in a conglomerate with 200,000 employees. And we laughed it off together about my unpreparedness and how fast I grew after that situation. How about you? When facing challenges like this, how have you been acting? Would you simply give up? Would you try something different? Would you learn with your initial quote unquote failure? I did not mention initially, but I stuttered, and something incredible happened. I did not stutter and only noticed after I was offered the position. That irate sensation, indignation inside me, the way I modeled after the other participants and have unlocked emotional triggers in their mind, made me change my posture and even my tone of voice. If you have not noticed yet, I just gave you valuable tips to overcome stutter, which is raise your voice tonality. I was cured during this interview process. Maybe your sickness or limitation is something else, but have you thought about the possibility of being cured simply because you faced a situation that caused you fear? I always keep the memories of this interview very close to my heart because I was really afraid. But what really happened that morning was that I found out that my emotional stronghold had deep roots with what I was born to do. I was born to instruct people, and after I received another promotion, even at a higher management position, I was still instructing people. I would organize speaks and training by myself, participated in meetings to talk to people, and since then, I have been helping the people connected to me to get clarity about their purpose just by helping them locate their emotional strongholds. Now, think about something that you are terribly afraid of, something that causes you terror. Answer the questions and list the fears you need to face. Fear of public speaking, fear of criticism, fear of being rejected, fear of death, other fears. You are what you think you are. Thoughts are the ignition of existence. Descartes registered, I think, therefore I am. The scriptures say, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. This verse is from the creator of heavens and earth, just for you. Therefore, I ask you, what are the thoughts you are having? When you start questioning your own thoughts, you will find the opportunity to renew them and create new alternatives. The first thing you need to understand is who you are today is the product of what you have attracted to yourself. There is power in your thoughts, but because you don't know how to manage them, you end up submitting to other people's influence to things and situations. The power of subconscious mind has nothing to do with magic or luck. Your mind works according to your will and the way it was directed to act. Believe me, according to the command given, the mind will act and there is no other way. That's why it's so important to think. Think even about your own thoughts. He who thinks is not alienated. Do you comprehend what is alienation? We will talk about this a little bit further. but I can already tell you alienation is a form of control others exert on you without you even knowing. When you use your imagination, you not only will attract what you desire, but also the consequences of what you desire. An example of this is if you use your thoughts to attract good for yourself and others, the result of this will be a feeling of well being. In contrast, if you wish bad things to others, bad things will also come to you. Don't you ever forget about this. Your decision will change your destiny, and this is directly related to your thoughts. If you are like 90% of people who pick up a book, it is likely that you won't get to the end of this one. But if this activates your decisions and desires, you will conquer this book in less than 24 hours with all the activities executed, and consequently, the positive changes will be bubbling inside of you. Before you proceed, let's do what I call a mental rehearsal. Put a big LED billboard flashing in red to show you what you will be receiving by reading this book. You'll have now the opportunity to fabricate through your imagination your extraordinary life. And this is the real reason for you to continue. Now, tell me, what would you like to see in this big billboard? What are the words written in it? What do you really wish and desire when reading this book? Your soul misses the things your eyes never saw. And it is in the soul that your mind resides. Everything we think vibrates inside of us. And this is the reason why we should consume thoughts of love, peace, harmony. We should generate an atmosphere that will promote positive thoughts that will make us lovable, persevere, optimists, loyal, etc. You need to understand that your mind is the virtual part, the operating system, while your brain is the hardware, the chemical part. If your brain commands your life, attention, then you are completely out of your ideal route, and possibly you never stop to think about this. We can't achieve peace, harmony, success, growth if what you think is negative, inferior, critic, and boring. Nobody is in peace if peace is not transmitted through you. To achieve thought sovereign, the capacity of having accurate thinking to the soul level that will correctly guide you in your way, try to diminish the power of your body to execute automated actions. There are many things you do that you don't even know why you do it. You just simply automatically repeat a behavior that you have inherited from your parents, from media, or even from the social group you are a part of. Put your brain in the operator mode and begin to command to whom once governed over you. The more sensible you are in the soul, the more assertive decisions you will make. And you can only be assertive if you empty yourself, your righteousness, justice, and start connecting with the source. But this is a theme for another chapter. I learned with Daniel Goleman, a Harvard PhD graduate, that if you're facing a challenge, rub your hands and say, I love a challenge. This will drastically increase your chances to solve anything in life. According to a survey performed with children, Daniel Goleman noticed that children who loved challenge achieved success in life, which was the opposite of what happened to the other children who turned their faces when a challenge was proposed. There is a way for you to have fun and achieve different results. Just try using Daniel Goleman's technique, and watch the quantic leap you will experience in your life. Freud, founder of psychoanalysis, used to say, thought is action in rehearsal. Do you really comprehend what this means? It means everything starts with a thought. For example, if you are dating and suddenly you start thinking about ending the relationship, believe me, you have already ended it. Everything starts before you think about it. What you think about eventually will be done in your life. Your thoughts are the foundation of your success or failure. And it's exactly because of this that is so important you begin to pay attention to what kind of thoughts you are feeding. The victory is ready in your mind, and the biggest war humankind has already observed is you against yourself. Proverbs says, whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. I know you are filled with fear, and this is exactly the kind of toxin that paralyzes you. I understand that you are living like this, but doesn't it bother you? Aren't you mad that you could be stronger than any warrior, but you aren't because you choose to have negative thoughts? Try using methods that work. Even with nothing happening instantaneously, start to activate your mind, walk like you have already won your battles, overcame all your obstacles, all your limits. Use your most powerful resource, your imagination. Believe you will win, believe you will grow, achieve your goals, your desires, believe in your freedom. Invest in yourself and strive to do something good, positive, and lucrative for yourself. Take control because this is your life and you only have one. But if you believe you have many lives, take charge of each of at a time, okay? Pause your reading for a moment and let's do an exercise. Stand up and release your arms. Relax. Close your eyes. Breathe correctly. Inhale deeply with your nose and hold for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly from your mouth. Repeat this exercise 3 times. This entire process should take about 2 minutes. During this process, mentalize yourself practicing things you could not do before, things you wish to have or do. Do you know why people stay in the state of negative mindset? The biggest problem is that most people simply don't believe. They don't believe they can do anything if they use the power of the imagination. They don't understand that imagination is the factory of existence. They think this is not enough. Mental scarcity is worse than material scarcity. Many people physically suffer when they can't improve their mental health, attracting psychosomatic diseases to their body. Your body will always respond to what you consume. If you are feeding your body negative thoughts, you are attracting and desiring a sick body. In the beginning, it seems crazy, and it actually is. Thinking about things you're not experiencing yet is like being like those crazy people who just talk but show no results, especially because at the beginning you really have no results to show. And a lot of times you are hard on yourself demanding those results. I have felt like this for 5 years. At Brazil Telecom, people used to call me Crazy Pablo, and they always tried to diminish me because everything I said was just in my thoughts. I talked about my big plans within that company, and there I was biking to the company. Then I started talking about wealth, and there I was driving an old beat up car. I remember people looking at me with contempt. Have you ever felt like this? Nowadays, most people that used to despise me go to my workshops and are instantly shocked. Some of them say they are sorry for how they treated me and want to start applying now things I used to teach them a decade ago. Notice how much time they simply wasted for not understanding the power they had and still have inside of them. At the 38th edition of IP Method, an immersive workshop about emotional intelligence I developed, I saw a coworker whom I met at Brazil Telecom. She casually found me online and shared with me that she was impacted one day in the middle of the night by a speak I gave, and that experience had really marked her. She came to me and brought her entire family to one of my powerful courses I have been teaching. After they completed this course, all of them, with no exception, advanced in many areas of their lives. Our Lord left us a message to guide us regarding eternal conquests and obviously about controlling what we think. He wants us to understand that our minds are guided by faith and our biggest achievements are related to what we think. When you desire something with intensity and certainty, there is nothing but faith. When you have faith, you really believe in what you want, and this is not about religion. It is a deep certainty with no trace of doubt. When you learn how to channel your thoughts, there is no chance for you to fail in achieving your goals. Have you ever thought about the reason why faith can move mountains? Because there are no mountains, obstacles, difficulties, however you want to call it, to those who have faith and really believe in something. Our thoughts are seeds, and people who does not understand about agriculture will never believe in what they grow until it becomes visible to them. We live in a world where we have comes before the be, and most people repeat this hypnotic rhythm without questioning. Now that I have big results to show in all areas of my life, people are in shock and some of them regret they did not follow the same path as I did because they ate all their seeds. Never allow anyone to control your harvesting. I have quickly learned that in life, everything is determined by your thoughts, so do not take too long to learn this as well. Anyone can find out how many seeds are inside of an apple, but no one can know for sure how many apples will come from a seed. The law of the harvest is infinite. There is a beginning, but never an end. Proof of this is that I met a great man, and everything he said he would achieve, he did. He said he would buy a big, expensive piece of land without having any money, and everything he thought and spoke was already his. I modeled after him and started doing the same thing. I purchased real estate and made investments with no capital. Isn't this incredible? When I was 13 years old, I saw this man with no possessions, driving an old car, and I rode a bike at the time as my only mean of transportation. I really learned with this man, and today he's famous worldwide. Maybe I listened to him for more than 2,000 hours and read more than 40 of his books. Today, he's a millionaire, and much of my financial wisdom I learned from him. We were never real friends. Just once I was able to personally teach him something powerful, but from him I learned more than 1,000 different things in the last 17 years. I know you're curious to know who this man is, but there's an advice for you. This is none of your business. Control your thoughts. This is exactly why you don't progress in life. You don't grow. You don't achieve your goals, and you don't do what needs to be done because you spend too much energy with things you shouldn't. Continue to focus on this book and do not fall on that trap. Just keep moving and know this story is real and that it created a big positive impact in my life, and I hope it does in your life as well. Control your thoughts because they dominate your body. What do you think about yourself? Let's all finish this chapter together by declaring out loud what I have written below. I will be right there with you. Who am I? What does God think of me? What was I born for? What can I conquer in this life? Who are the people that I am going to create alliances with to achieve all I want in life? I'm writing this chapter near one of my most beautiful rivers in Brazil, and I am declaring out loud right at this very moment, and my intentions will echo through eternity. Let's do this together. I am ready to move forward with this book and with my life. Fear versus fear. We learn early on that being afraid of certain things would make us avoid problems, even death. But the instructions received by the latest generations is very mixed due to the toxins released by the social engineering that contaminated basic principles and concepts that we once lived by. In reality, fear blocks you from what you were born to do, and it blocks a powerful wave of prosperity in all areas of your life. Shocking, right? Don't mix toxic feelings with good feelings. This subject is so important that I have written another book just dedicated to this. The book is called Brainwashing. People who don't think for themselves allow any kind of toxins to permeate their thoughts, drastically impacting who they really are. Many of these toxic thoughts and feelings will affect your self image. Therefore, I have a question for you. Why do you allow this? Being afraid is different than being prudent. Instead of teaching a kid to be afraid of fire, for example, we need to install in their minds the prudency driver so they can care for their lives instead of being afraid. This will guarantee extraordinary results in your children's lives. What kind of seeds have you been planting for the next generation? Do not teach your kids money is dirty because they can grow being afraid of money. And most people who were taught money is dirty can't manage their finances well today. Imagine this: a seed planted early on in life can grow a life of misery later. What kind of legacy do you want to build? Do you want to be part of a generation with deep, limiting beliefs built by you? When when will you do something about this? What is your attitude about this? Before you teach anything to your kids, do it. And then they will learn by what you do and not what you say. Words can convince, but your actions will guide. The biggest problem of people is to preach before they become. Just live by what you would like to teach, and your words will be unnecessary. Do you want an example of what I'm saying? Did you know a baby learned to talk by watching the movements of the mouth of the person taking care of them and not only by listening? I know this can sound corny, but kids truly learn by modeling after their parents' behavior. First, you be the example. Then, you transmit this behavior to your kids and family. Fear is a seed that grows fast in any soil, but the ideal soil is the empty space in your mind. Like in the famous phrase, empty mind is the devil's workshop, even though it is not in the Bible, this phrase states an unquestionable truth. Because according to neuroscience, the lack of action produces terrible cerebral inactivity. And if you are inactive, you are also unproductive. Consequently, limited and poor. I am not talking about money. What is the most powerful manure to grow a seed of fear? Manure, in this case, I am talking about negative actions, thoughts, behaviors, and negative writing. The only tool capable of separating the wheat from the chaff is the pesticide I call positive actions of confrontment. If you do not confront, you don't decide to attack. You will always be content with living the mediocre life you already have. Fear is a sensation that puts you in an alert state. There are two types of fear. The first one is a reflex fear, also called survival instinct, which creates a psychological response. This type of reaction cannot be completely dominated since our brain's primitive response is too quick. Now, the second type is the one which blocks you, called the paralyzing fear. This fear affects your social relations and is the cause of psychological agony. This type of fear blocks new actions in the brain and causes you to be in a retracted and unwanted state, always conducting you away from your goals, or even worse, preventing you from establishing goals at all. The best way to treat fear is through systemic disassociation. In other words, simply by facing your fears. When you put yourself in a position to face what once caused you an emotional block, you start gaining authority and control over the situation. The biggest problem most people face is here. They want to have authority, control, knowledge, and do things without facing what limit them. I want you to understand something. If you don't face your monsters, they will become your masters, and they will determine all your results in life. True freedom happens when you break the chains and start walking. It's useless to resignify and not continue practicing. It's like a slave that was granted freedom but still wants to be in chains. Fear is a taboo for most people. Are you part of the group of people who prefers to pretend they have no traumas or limitations? Prefer to act like their fears did not exist? What do you want to be? Slave or a free man or woman? My oldest son, when he was only 4 years old, stopped a management meeting in my company and said, "Guys, fear is afraid of us." Wow, he changed the whole scenery of that meeting and how it's possible for a 4-year-old boy think like this. Believe me, the simplicity of children destroys fear. Why don't you learn to be like a kid? Oh, I know you are afraid of looking childish and ridiculous, but know this could be your way to freedom. You have fears because of your complex way of thinking. Your fears are too intense. Everything looks too big. Believe me, simplicity can free you. Do you want to be free? If your answer is yes, just understand that you only have today. Do not procrastinate. Do not postpone things for tomorrow. Just live the now and stop running away from what needs to be done. List 10 fears you have heard about that sounded like good fears, but in fact are not. Mental stages of fear. Do you really know what fear is? Fear is comprised of a physical state of emotional unrest caused by the real or felt sensation of danger. This can cause a person to escape to their inside or to their outside. Fear is a sensation of alertness and to a certain extent an important reaction for our survival, but in most cases can paralyze us. When our body overreacts to fear, that sensation of alertness, which can be beneficial to a person, becomes pathological, and this is exactly the reason people develop diseases associated with fears they never faced or conquered, and the fear became so big that it started to dominate them. Fear becomes pathological in some cases when our organism overreacts, causing the state of alertness to turn into phobia. Phobia is the anticipation of fear or anxiety. Do you know what is the biggest problem with this? The social, emotional, and relational deficit this person is exposed to. Fear is never good for you, but in some cases can shrink your mind and body to death. Some people call me insensitive because I fear absolutely nothing. If you don't know me personally, you will doubt that I fear nothing. But those who know me personally have already seen this during an intensive training or immersion with me. These people probably have already conquered their fears and have applied to their lives the same techniques I apply in my life. At least this is what I wish you have done. Fear is an emotional reaction that is linked to the limbic system, one of the most primitive regions of our brain. Fear is mapped out in the brain through 5 steps. It is important to understand each step of fear and how you can interfere in each one of them. Number 1, thalamus. This part receives signals and noises from our eyes, ears, mouth, and skin. The biggest part of our fear comes from noises, which are not true signals. Noise is a sensation and a signal to the entire information. The thalamus cannot distinguish from what is truly real and what is constructed or made up by you. For this reason, we can be startled by our reaction of fear, but soon after reconsider and realize there is no cause for fear. We can then stop and analyze what happened and what caused us the fear. Number 2, prefrontal cortex, sensorial. In this part of the brain is located the fear regulators. Fear reactions are a result of the connection between the 2 hemispheres of the brain and are a product of the emotion of fear and its ability to regulate. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for interpreting the sensations, sensorial, emotional, and cultural, in order to formulate plans of actions in case of emergency. Number 3, hippocampus. The hippocampus stores and recalls memories, processes, and compare stimulus. Number 4, amygdala. It is the area responsible to decode our emotions, determine possible threats, and store memories of fear. This area, once activated, sends a first physical alarm to the body in the form of tension. Number 5, hypothalamus. After danger is evaluated and the amygdala triggers the alarm, in cases when the sign of danger keeps being triggered, other brain structures that are associated with the fear circuit are activated. From there, the hypothalamus decides what to do next: fight or flight. The intensity level of fear goes from just being prudent and concentrated on doubt to alarm and anguish, anxiety, all the way to panic and terror. We need to understand that what does not exist can create more anguish than what does exist. Have you ever thought about this? Threats that are created in the imagination keeps us locked in because in order to escape these threats, we would have to escape from ourselves. Wow, this is very serious. Imagination, poorly used, can create mental chains that can imprison you and prevent you from becoming what you were born to be. And this happens due to a poorly managed imagination and lack of thought control. Do you want to change this? Nowadays, we possess the ability to not fear or avoid facing our challenges even when danger is only in our head. This happens due to the complexity of the human brain that in primarily should improve its control over fear, but instead it escalates the actual risks and issues. Fear is a primary emotion and it causes anxiety, anguish, panic, and terror. Fight or flight. List 10 situations you have been running away from and write one word representing the action you will take to face the situation. What are your fears? When you were just a baby, your simplicity turned fear into a joke. You did not know how to ask for food, so your only act was to cry, which is something no one taught you, and you were not bothered by it at any moment. You did not know how to walk, but you have fallen 1,000 times before being able to walk perfectly. You did not know how to talk, but you have misspoken thousands of words, and but by making mistakes, you learned how to speak correctly. You did not know how to ride a bike, and this is the moment you met fear. A big crutch was forced into your life. The damn training wheels, and you stayed with it for years. I know a girl who, when she was a child, like many kids, she wanted to learn how to ride a bike. Her parents gave her a bike with training wheels, and she tried so hard to ride it but with no success. The problem was not just falling, but because she was overweight, the training wheels always bent down and she fell always in the same spot. The situation was very embarrassing to her, and every time this happened, she needed help from her mother to fix the training wheels, and her mom used to say to her, "You see, you're so fat that not even your bike can hold you. I don't know where you will end up like this." Long story short, she gave up riding her bike and gave up on many other things along the way, even giving up on her own life. Every time she needed energy to face a challenge, she gave up. She became afraid of everything and later on in life developed a very difficult case of panic syndrome. Did you know that a kid can learn how to ride a bike in just 2 days? You just have to remove the pedals and the training wheels. Just let the kid push the bike to learn balance. After 2 days, put back the pedals and you'll see the kid riding a bike like there's no tomorrow. I had an opportunity to teach my oldest son, Lorenzo, at the age of 5, to ride a bike the same way I just shared with you. You have no idea how happy I was that I was not the culprit for causing traumas in my son, and he will always be strong to move forward, always being confident to face his fears and his challenges. Yes, I know how you must be feeling right now. You thought all this time you were being helping your kids, when in reality, you have installed a fear so big that if your kids are now all grown up, maybe they can't ride a bike, like the girl I mentioned in the story, and maybe they can't do many other things as well. By the end of this book, you will be able to laugh about it, that you're so imprisoned to things you have never questioned and to things you just got used to. List at least 10 fears you have in order of priority. Signal versus noise. Knowing the difference between signal and noise is vital to be able to connect to your life's goals. Noise is everything that is not real, all the interferences and lies that are thrown in the web. The frequency web is the universe, and believe when I say that 95% of all that appears to be information is actually noise. Noises are manipulated information, lies, and wrong beliefs. My life started to change drastically after I abandoned the noise. What are the noises affecting your life? In 2006, I started to block people's opinion about me. In 2012, I stopped watching television. In 2016, I stopped arguing on the internet. In 2017, I stopped reading any news from the internet or printed newspaper. I realized that I was a slave and I did not have time to prosper because I had to keep repeating all of that content all week and debate like a slave. Until today, it impresses me how people feel obligated to talk about topics that the media tells us to. If you're still alienated, you need to know what freedom is. Kill your television. 95% of what is transmitted on your television is noise. The information transmitted by your television will only create crisis in your life. Moreover, it will create a sensation in you that everything changed except you. It will manipulate your feelings, your sensations, and your values, which is the gravest part. The culture industry is one of the biggest responsibles for hyperstimulation in kids. With easy and unlimited access to media, kids are more susceptible to be exposed to multiple types of content. You don't even notice, but in each commercial from TV, radio, cell phones, the media impresses in your kid the compulsion of buying things, and even you unconsciously get affected. Always looking for the top of the line digital device, the best of this, the best of that, not because they believe they need it or they deserve it, but because they are truly being controlled. One of the most dangerous types of advertising for kids are the ads that stimulate consumerism since very young age. Approximately 70% of a family's decision to purchase something is influenced by the kids through advertising. When women began gaining space in the workplace, both parents left to work and left their kids in the care of television. Nowadays, most parents don't take the responsibility to raise their children themselves, not only by letting kids stare at the TV all day, but through other things like video games, tablets, smartphones, internet, etc. What is your commitment to the future generation? What kind of legacy and what kind of teachings are you leaving to your children? To many parents, it is much easier to distract their children with these devices than giving them attention after a stressful day at work. And many parents still use the same excuses that they are working hard to give a better life to their children. The best life your children can have is to be able to be with their parents. Play with your kids, create positive memories in their minds. Stressed and exhausted parents are raising hyperactive, overstimulated, and anxious kids. With this excess of activities and technological stimulus, kids don't have the time to play, to admire the world around them, let alone care for their emotional intelligence. Kids are being prematurely stimulated. This needs to be reverted at the first stages of infancy, and parents need to know their role in the development of their children's emotional health. Parents are the first to incentivize the development or of self-esteem, of the protection of their emotions, their capacity to work through losses and frustrations, and responsible to be the filter of stimulus so their children can have a healthy childhood. Children need to know how to speak and listen, to interact with others, and especially with themselves, and only through the development of their emotional intelligence this is possible. You need to invest quality time with your kids. Another big problem caused by the excess of noise is what we call cerebral obesity. This is not necessarily caused by TV, but from the accumulation of information where people who are always learning are informed and do absolutely nothing with what they learn. In other words, they do not practice and do not teach. Just retain all that content to themselves, either because they think they're incapable of sharing that content or because they actually believe they have nothing valuable to contribute with. People like this are always consuming information but are lacking action. Incredible, this concept, right? How many times in your life you had no courage to do something, courage to move forward, courage to say yes or no, willingness to face challenges? People don't position themselves because they are afraid of even trying. There's no doubt if they are capable, and it is this doubt that prevents them from trying because they are afraid of failure. We find here the necessity of approval and acceptance. And this is so present in people's lives, especially in those who carry their fear as a shield. If you depend on other people's approval, you simply don't take care of your own life and always live in the shadow of other people, accepting things you don't even wish to fulfill. If you don't try, you are committing a mistake and not a failure. Failure is good. It is part of the learning process. If you fail in one area, you learn how not to do it. And because of this, you have the possibility of influencing people not to make the same mistakes. If you do not change your mentality about failure, you will be afraid to try and be audacious. And this will keep you from living the same static life you've been living right now. Every failure deserves you a diploma. The problem is always failing on the same things. When you don't even give yourself the chance to try, you will never have different results. Don't forget, it is okay to fail, but never fail in the same things. The fact that you have failed should have served to teach you something. What are the immediate actions you can take regarding three biggest failures in your life? The price of inertia. The universe is mathematical. And when I found out the price of inertia, I never went back to sleep again. The first law of Newton, or law of motion, says that if a body is static, stays static. And if a body is in motion, stays in motion in a straight line with constant speed. How are you right now? Static or in motion? Did you understand this very simple principle? If you're static, you will continue to be static. Wow. Do you know the secret? Always stay in motion. Even at a slow pace, when a body is in motion, stays in motion. One of the biggest problems for most people is wanting drastic changes when in reality, all you need to do is to start moving. A commercial plane burns 1 ton of fuel just to take off. For a 2-hour flight, takeoff alone consumes the majority of the fuel tank. And when I found out about this, I was in shock. Wow, this is why most people don't take off, because they don't have enough fuel in the tank. Have you thought about this? How's your fuel in your tank? Do you have enough fuel to take off? Another example of inertia can be observed when we see a bus moving. When a bus goes from static to accelerating, the passengers tend to move backwards. The same way when a bus that is in motion suddenly brakes, the passengers move forwards. Inertia refers to the resistance a body offers when the state of static or motion is altered. So, the universe can direct you and push you to prosperity, but you create resistance using a contrary force against your own growth. You are your own enemy. You are creating your own limitations by resisting your growth and prosperity. Inertia is not only about not doing anything, it's about spending all your energy with useless things and having no fuel for what is really necessary. If you're not experiencing extraordinary results in your life, it's because you have wasted all your energy. Every and all projects need to be initiated. Do you know the life cycle of a project? Every project is planned, executed, and managed. In the initial phase, you need to be conscious about every essential information, like timeline and costs associated with the project. How much will you need to invest? Before we move forward to the next phase of the project, an assessment needs to be performed about the level of effort needed to complete the project. In this phase of the project, there's a high level of details to be thought through, differently from the initial phase we just talked about. The objective here is to structure a consistent plan to activate the success of the project. This phase needs to be written. Remember, what is not written does not exist. Do you have your targets written down? Your goals? Your mid and long-term goals? And if you're single, do you have written down the characteristics of the person you wish to find? Write it down. There is an incredible power in writing words. During the execution of the project, the third phase, the attention should be directly to the execution of what was planned. The fourth phase is monitoring and controlling. This happens in parallel with the execution, and it is a way to guarantee that what's being done is compatible with what was planned. If something is not going according to plan, stop and assess. Go back if you need to, and don't have a commitment with your mistakes. I see many people insisting in things that will never give them the expected results. And even knowing this, they won't go back to fix the mistakes they made. Be free to go back when your choices were not the right ones. The last phase is conclusion and calibration. Maybe you won't understand why we're talking about this right now, but your biggest project that you can have is your own life. If you don't complete each phase, unfortunately, you will never achieve your desired state. You were in static mode because you never treated your life like a project. Every good project has an ending date and it needs to be written down. Never forget that your biggest commitment is with yourself. Do not play with your life. What is the project you will develop in order to leave your static mode in the next 15 days? Write down what really burns in your heart. The cycle of fear. The seed. Fear is a thought, and a thought is a seed. Therefore, fear is a seed. And it is that type of seed that sprouts even in asphalt. Seeds are exponential by essence. A seed carries the DNA of your species. I cannot plant pineapple and wait for beans to grow. These are seeds from different species. And what is the seed of fear? Fear always comes from other people carrying negative experiences that mark them, and they transfer or transmit these experiences to us. Some carry these seeds in their pockets, bags, or socks. Everything they say is filled with these seeds. Most people behave like birds that eat the seeds from other people and distribute them randomly in other people's soil. People do this simply because they lack the knowledge. Very different from you, who made a conscious decision to really learn from this book to become someone different from the majority and never allow yourself to be drifted. Fertile soil. It is the empty space in your brain, the perfect space for fear to spread. It is when you create the necessary conditions for fear to be planted and sprout inside of you. Manure. Manure is every negative action that are reproduced by your thoughts, behaviors, spoken and written words that are negative and potentialize the growth of the seed. Maybe you don't believe this will make your fear grow, but instead of producing a pesticide, you are actually fertilizing the fear, and the tendency is that fear will keep growing strong and dominate you. Pesticide. The harvest of your life can only be cultivated with quality if you fiercely attack fear. And the main pesticide against fear are the positive actions of confrontment. Yes, you are reading this right. The pesticide is the continuation and multiplication of positive actions in order to extinguish the space being consumed by fear in your mind. Understand this. When fear is present, in a certain degree, there is an escape. A physical escape when the body prepares to fight or flight, or an emotional escape. The same way you build a fear scale from a light anxiety to terror, you need to progressively be encouraged to confront your fears. It is what we call systematic desensitization. When confrontment occurs, a restructuring and relearning also occurs, also called resignification, from a reaction that used to trigger an alert in your organism to a smarter response. The sower. You are the sower. That is why you must carefully select your seeds and protect your field, which is your mind. Do not accept any type of seed to grow in a space that is only yours. The reap. Everything you sow, you reap, right? Wrong. This is a lie. You can reap what you have not sowed, sow and don't reap, abandon your reap, sow but the soil never responds to it, sow but get destroyed by the weather, sow but lose everything to a plague or a thief. Plant a seed that will never grow. Plant dates but never harvest in your life. In this case, dates that are not genetically modified to take 80 to 100 years to produce its first fruits. Nobody reaps what sows. A corn seed can turn into more than 1,500 seeds in a corn stalk. Now think, what if the seed is replanted? Every sow is overcome by its own harvest. This is a principle. I've had the experience of planting a big cornfield, and the result is remarkable. When I was a child, I was puzzled by a biblical expression about a harvest that was 100 to 1. Today, I experience even bigger proportions than this. This is real. This life really exists. And you could even experience this, but the problem is that you get on your own way. Prepare yourself because nobody reaps what sows. If you sow fear, you will reap emotional strongholds, unhappiness, and defeat in astronomical proportions. Is this what you really desire? Stop sowing what you do not want to reap. Alienation. Alienation is the best way to imprison someone's brain and make an individual obey commands without even realizing. It is omitting the management of your own life. It is walking in a hypnotic rhythm when you are manipulated in a permissive way and still believe there is some advantage for you. What you don't know is that there is a whole industry that promotes this all over the world. Ignorance. Every human being is born a fool and grow up learning with its own incoherence. In other words, we are all born like a slave and need to be free ourselves through knowledge. The same way that children are born fools, but it is through the relationship with their parents that they will build their moral values and principles. Religion. Be aware that religion is one of the biggest culprits for alienation because Jesus was Jew but was never seen teaching Judaism to anyone. The root of the word religion is religare, which means reconnect. This word is a mercy lace that ties human beings to God. This act starts with Him and goes to you. It is Him who wanted to reconnect the relationship with us once it was us who had disconnected from Him. He has this eternal love for you and He's always by your side. But you ignore this because you aren't even His friend and can't even notice His presence. The biggest problem with this is that most religious people want to receive the bonus for having reestablished the relationship with Him, but He had already done it. He just wants your commitment. I have a personal hate for religious people because a lot of people who got their minds imprisoned in the last decade because of religion. And this is still happening. People who preach a false freedom when in reality they do not live what they teach and preach. Information. The amount of information published in just one day on the internet is larger than all archived information available until the year 1900. There are a lot of lies published. You must know how to differentiate noise, which is lie, from signal, which is truth. Fear. Fear is a powerful tool for alienation. Fear can be unintentionally propagated by people who we love the most. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. If you still have any type of fear, understand that the unfortunate reality is that you still don't know the perfect love. Culture. Cultural alienation is the lowering of individual thinking through mass culture, which is distributed through TV shows, magazines, newspaper, radio, pamphlets, and other means with the objective of alienating people, making only available information to transform them in a consumerism society. And all of this happens in a very subtle way without you even knowing that you are a part of all of this. Parental. It is the interference in the psychological formation of the child or adolescent promoted or inducted by one of the parents, by another family member, or anyone the child or adolescent had as authority figure. In the past 15 years, I have seen wonderful people being completely blocked by some type of alienation, and this made me feel devastated. I have had real contact with more than 100,000 people in big corporations, universities, and churches, and I can tell you that until today, I have not encountered more than 10 people not alienated. This represents 0.01% that are truly free of any type of alienation. And I testify, all of them are very prosperous and happy. Someone with a full control of their mind cannot be alienated to anything. Ever since this phrase entered my brain, I declare it out loud, and this defines my life's projects and my friendship with the Almighty God. How was I able to live without discovering this? It took me decades for this truth to penetrate my being and truly unlock my brain for the next phase. How long will it take for you to discover this and start creating a friendship with the Creator? Will you just hear about Him like Job? Or will you choose to have a close relationship with the one who created and designed you even before the creation of the world, like John had been the most loved disciple? How can you get out of alienation? Connect with people who has already done it. This is the fastest way. A non-alienated individual thinks freely, lives in the best house of the street, drives a dream car, do not care about other people's opinion, and everything around them flourishes. Do you desire this life for you? It is available to you, just to get in your own way and to do what needs to be done. Every person that is set free by someone should be really careful, because it is easy to be free from alienation from one thing and alienate yourself with the one who set you free. Your brain does not want to think on its own because this consumes too much energy. Many politicians and religious people know this and utilize of this to imprison the minds of people who do not think for themselves. Would you like to be free of this? Write down below in percentage 0 to 100 how alienated you feel in the following areas of your life: health and wellness, intellectual development, emotional balance, work, financial resources, influence at work and networking, family, love life, social life, contribution with the world, peacefulness and happiness, spirituality. Sisters of Fear. If you take control of the Sisters of Fear, you will eliminate the entire family. They exist to open the path of destruction in your mind and in your life. Inertia. Inertia is the oldest sister of fear. It is when you spend all your energy with other things, therefore you have no energy to produce something for you. Not doing what needs to be done will fill you up with fear. The worst part is believing you are doing something, when in reality you are sabotaging yourself and actually believe you are doing something, even if just a bit, but you have just become a statue. Remember, a static body tends to stay static. You have to keep moving. Procrastination. It is the criminous sister of fear. It is the true stealer of your soul. It is the act of living to the last minute what needs to be done now. Establish priorities in your goals and actions, and always work with real deadlines. I really like to use with my coworkers a tool called SD, see and do, to avoid procrastination. Stop fooling yourself and wasting energy. Just do it. Disorganization. It is the wasting sister. According to an American consulting company, a disorganized person wastes 10% of their lives due to lack of organization. In other words, wastes energy that will not be converted into results. Translating. You were born to live 120 years, taking good health into consideration, good habits, etc. If you are just disorganized, you will be wasting 12 years of your life with this. Is this how you want to live? Omission. It is the lazy sister, not doing something essential to achieve any result. If you know something needs to be done, do it now. Negativity. It is the traumatized sister. tries to put more weight than necessary and makes situations seem bigger than it is. Complaining. It is the ungrateful sister. It is when you spend your energy with things that will take you away from the target. It is the true art of dying halfway to your destination. Uncertainty. It is the shy sister. Because of her, you don't do what you should and create doubts about what would be if you had done it. You waste your most valuable resource, imagination, with things that won't produce any impact. You worry about things that might never happen. Lie. It is the dishonest sister. It is when, in some way, you hide the truth in order to benefit from a situation, even if it means not doing what needs to be done. It is closely linked to self-deception, when you tell yourself white lies just to convince yourself of something. Self-deception is the result of a mental process that makes you accept as true an information that you once considered false. Excuses. It is the popular sister. It is what you use to get out of conflict situations, but you know it is no more than a white lie, that not even you believe it. Solitude. It is the pious sister, the one who is lonely and convinces you to be lonely as well. She lies about her real emotional state. It is the sister who says you need this time for yourself, when in reality she just wants you to be isolated so you stagnate where you have always been. If the Creator made us to have relationships with other people and mainly with Him, what is the purpose of solitude? In fact, being lonely is a pact that you did with Lucifer, so he does not even need to dedicate energy with you because having you stagnated is already enough for him. Seeing you paralyzed is part of his evil plan. Limiting beliefs. Beliefs are rules that guide your life. The rules that you live by that instructs your behavior. It dictates your way of behaving. These rules can be liberating and positive and give you the permission to achieve your goals and live your values. On the other side, the rules can also hold you back, making your goals impossible or making you believe that you're not capable of achieving your goals. Beliefs are action principles. Therefore, if you want to know in what someone believes, pay attention to what this person does and not what this person says she or he believes. All of our relationships, abilities, and possibilities are being influenced by our positive beliefs and negative beliefs. We form our beliefs and our fears as a result of our own experiences. From this point, we act as if they are absolute truths. In certain degree, they work almost as self-fulfilling prophecies because what I believe will guide my conduct and my relationships. Let's say you believe someone is pleasant. You will act a certain way. You will be more open to this person. You will appreciate the company of this person in the presence of others, which in a way it will reinforce your beliefs. Most of the fears you have are a result of believing something you heard from someone you admire and respect, but you never questioned it. These fears were unconsciously installed in you and are limiting your prosperity. When will you decide to truly free yourself from this? If beliefs are experiences, this means that you can choose your beliefs and change your results in any moment. If you're satisfied with your current results, continue acting the same way and keep your beliefs. If you are not satisfied with your results, change your behavior and change your beliefs. Some people have unchanging beliefs, but beliefs can and should be changed. The consciousness that beliefs can be altered is a challenging concept for some people because they think beliefs are possessions. And deep down, people don't like losing, even if when it's something that is bad for them. That is why we'll use here the idea of re-signifying the beliefs so they can produce different results. Beliefs act like rules about what is possible. And when we re-signify these beliefs that used to imprison you, it is possible that you will gain even more creativity in other areas of your life. Abandon what is preventing you from advancing in life. But how do I do this? Very simple. When you change your beliefs, you start to execute new actions that not only solve the existing problem, but also takes you to new experiences outside of the context you used to be. Make all negative beliefs temporary. Make all positive beliefs permanent and definitive. The act of execution needs to be your new way of learning. If you want to re-signify a belief, act. True change begins with a new action, not just with your intellectual knowledge. Every action will result in a new learning experience. If you experience failure after executing something, just understand that you are in the path of perfectioning. Failure is just a judgment about a short-term result, which does not determine the end result. You can try multiple times, just don't keep making the same mistakes. You can only accept failure when you give up. If you are still trying, you still have a possibility of success and learning. If you don't have all the necessary resources, create them. But remember that you have the best resource there is, yourself. But if you don't believe this, you will never move forward. When you are committed with yourself, you are closer to your success and growth. We are always moving towards something, even subconsciously. We are always moving towards a goal, and our actions are not by chance. We all have different experiences, interests, moods, responsibilities, aversions, worries, etc. This is why we have different beliefs through our life experiences, because we have different goals and values. These goals, beliefs, and values are the main characteristics of our mental map, which is responsible for shaping the world as we perceive it. We act as if the mental maps are real. Limiting beliefs are the main cause we fail to achieve our goals and live by our values. Limiting beliefs act as rules that prevent us from achieving what is possible, what we are capable to do, and what we deserve. If I ask you right now, what prevents you from achieving your goals? Possibly your answer will be a limiting belief. As I mentioned previously, limiting beliefs usually are formed during our childhood when we copy our parents, and parents are never perfect. Our parents' opinions often are hidden inside of us, and when we become adults, we don't necessarily judge these opinions consciously. Moreover, we absorb limiting beliefs from the media, soap operas, news, commercials, and once again, I'll tell you, kill your television. Remember, limiting beliefs are only truth if we act as if they are. In my experience as a coach, I have been perceiving that simply by articulating and speaking about limiting beliefs and understanding its drawbacks in a conscious way, it is sufficient for my client to change his or her position, consequently changing his or her reality. There are beliefs that naturally change as we get older. Others receive positive reinforcement and become part of our reality more easily. The cycle of change happens in the following way: unsatisfaction with current results and events, doubts about existing beliefs, belief in something different, a new belief. The old belief is gathered with the group of other beliefs that are no longer being used. I will write down a few limiting beliefs related to fear, and you can re-signify, rewrite in a positive way the belief in a sentence. Let's do this together. I am afraid of dying. I am afraid of flying an airplane. I am afraid of being made fun of and people judging me. I worry too much about what other people say. I am afraid of public speaking. My biggest fear is to be financially broke. I feel inferior to people who dress well and know how to communicate. I am shy when it comes to making new friends. I feel like I am a loser and I have no talent. I am too dumb to learn new things. Every person is more talented and better than me. I will never advance in life. I don't want to be rich. Every rich person is snob, dishonest, and prideful. I am destined to live this life because it is the same life my parents had. I cannot learn this. All of the beliefs listed are related to some kind of fear. Do you have any belief beyond these ones? If there are any beliefs that you would like to abandon but are not on the list above, write them down. Limiting beliefs is what holds you back from prosperity. Your body has limits, but your mind does not. This is the biggest secret you can carry with you. That is why there are things your mind can reach when your body is not able to. But at some point, it will become reality because you have just attracted this to you. Do not be alienated to anything. Do not get engaged to any of the sisters of fear. Question everything and do not accept something because you respect someone. Respect your life, your intelligence, and your personal growth. Love yourself because if you don't, no one else will. No one else. To question someone is not a disrespect, but is being respectful with yourself. It is to think and to break free from the necessity of being approved, because every person you don't want to question is because you respect or admire them. Do not forget, thoughts generate emotions, feelings, that generate actions, that generate results. If you want to achieve different results, change your actions, your emotions, and your thoughts. Thoughts do not change thoughts. What changes thoughts is a movement or a simple action. Love problems. Everything you desire in life is on the other side of the bridge called problems. You just have to cross one every day. Oftentimes, we focus how far we are from our desires and we just forget that all we need to do is cross the bridge. Behind every problem, there's always a reward. Love rewards. If you don't have this mentality installed in your head, you will always think that behind every problem there's a solution, when in reality the solution and the problem are made from the same matter. If you do an analogy, a problem is like a meteor that is always disturbing people who procrastinate because they don't like problems. And what happens when the meteor makes contact? How will these people react? If they can redirect the meteor right now and avoid contact with Earth, why wait for landfall at all? Believe me, Every time you decide to love the problem, it will be much easier for you to solve it. I can say this by experience because there is no problem I cannot find a solution to. After all, I love problems and I want to solve every single one I find in my way. Do you want more patience? Ask for problematic people in your life. Do you desire more wisdom? Ask for people with difficult problems to solve. Do you desire prosperity? Think about problems that most people never thought of or were ever able to solve it. Become a problems specialist and think that every problem that comes your way is a teaching moment for you for something that other people might not learn and will not grow from it like you will. If you think like this, you will understand that problems are good. Don't see problems as difficulties. See the problem as an opportunity for growth. See a situation that apparently has no solution as an opportunity to acquire wisdom. Loving problems will never be a bad thing. Even if you don't agree, stop, breathe, and reflect about what you are reading this very moment. There is always a reward behind every problem. I repeat, as you become a problems specialist, you will never be caught off guard. And there is an added bonus for you. Problems will start to run away from you. Yes, that's right. As you become an expert in finding solutions, problems won't want to be in your way anymore. Problems will go after scared people because problems know if they are in your way, you will solve them. Be intimate with pain because pain can be a great friend or serve as a fuel for you. Pain can be a springboard for you to transform suffering in real results. What was anguish in maturity, and what initially was a loss in gain. I will share with you something that happened with one of my colleagues. We were attending training, and during this process, I asked him to bake some cheese bread for us. I asked him what had happened because more than 40 minutes had passed since I had asked him to bake the cheese breads. He said the kitchen was closed and there was no tray to even bake the cheese breads. I insisted that he used his brain to think about other solutions, but he was not able to. So I gave him the idea to remove the handle of the top of one of the saucepans and turn it upside down to bake the cheese breads. And he said, "It will not work." Then I looked at a piece of brick and I thought, if chefs bake fish in the brick, then we can bake cheese bread too. Then he said, "No, this will leave a disgusting taste in the cheese bread." After proposing many solutions, he said he would go out to the local market and buy cheese bread. However, I told him this was not the solution. Actually, I had already thought about an easier solution, but I wanted to stimulate him to not give up and to think about a solution in a holistic way. After some time, I said to him, "Go outside, ring the neighbors, and an old lady will answer the door. Ask her to borrow one of her baking trays, then you'll be able to bake the cheese breads." He did that, and everything happened according to what I had imagined already. After 5 minutes, he arrived with the baking tray, and we baked the cheese breads. It was an incredible learning experience for all of us. In this situation, what would be your attitude? When you are facing scarcity of resources, would you just give up? You are the most valuable resource there is. Believe me, everything that is supposed to be yours already exists. There is a secret that, if applied, will promote a mental devastation with no going back. Do you know what is the biggest problem in the world? Every time you face a problem, you grow in wisdom, authority, and confidence. Every being that thinks love problems. Every problem solved removes you from the alienation associated with that problem. The biggest problem in the world is you, but problems and solutions are made from the same matter. Choose to keep running away from yourself, and you will know an infinite of troubles. Can you really say that you love problems? Do you love yourself? Can you even say this? Write down 5 problems you've been hating and postponing to solve. After you write them down, let's visualize and verbalize that you love these problems and that a solution will be found. Let's do this. Understand and use the secret to love problems and stop avoiding them. This will make a huge difference in your life. But you have to try, and you can only try something by doing it. Self-image. Our body carries our emotional history, physical, affective, psychological, and social. Our thoughts, feelings, and experiences are all the same time being funneled through our body in the way we express ourselves. This is the reason why we experience psychosomatic diseases. These diseases are a way for our body to communicate with you and alert you something is wrong. Freud said, "He that has eyes to see and ears to hear may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips. Betrayal oozes out of him at every pore." Do you know what this means? That a lot of things can be revealed in between the lines of our behaviors. Many people are illegitimately labeling themselves, however, in no time they reveal who they truly are. William Shakespeare said something similar. Life is a stage where we are born and become the actor of the stories we participate. Each of us play multiple roles to different audiences. Many of us even play different roles to ourselves. In this chapter, one of the most important things you will learn is, do you know who you really are? Are you hiding your true identity from others and playing different roles to yourself? Beyond this, the majority of our communication is non-verbal. We are communicating all the time about what we are feeling, we are experiencing, what we have dreamed and wished. You communicate even when you are quiet. As time goes by, we create layers of protection, like shells, due to the traumas that we faced through our lives. This is what I call social mask, shell. Sometimes to appear good to someone, people commit one of the biggest mistakes of their lives. They abandon themselves. This is the worst pain there is, the pain of neglecting your own life. To talk about self-image, you also need to talk about self-concept. Which one is more important? Which one comes first? Self-concept can be defined as the perception someone has about themselves. In other words, the concept we develop in regards to our own self. This serves as a base for other aspects of how an individual is formed, such as self-esteem. If your concept about yourself is wrong, the entire construction of yourself can be compromised. Self-esteem is how I feel about the concepts and image about myself. It is the feeling that moves me to act and have certain attitudes. Self-image is the description of your behavior through the acquired knowledge you have about yourself. In other words, how you communicate and behave with the world around you. It is how you describe yourself. Inside this, you'll find self-esteem, which is the value you give to yourself. The biggest part of your self-image is formed in your childhood. But even through your adulthood, when your self-image is already formed, your self-image is still a dynamic concept. It is possible then to change our self-image? Of course it is. If you can change your self-concept, you can re-signify your self-image and your self-esteem. Reaching outstanding results will allow you to fall in love with the most important person, yourself. We all have a self-image that we build inside of us. This image is projected in the wall of our soul. Every time we take a walk inside of us, we automatically pass through this wall and we see our image reflected in the way we build. There is a verse in the words our Creator left us that says, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness." Have you ever stopped to think what your eyes are thinking about yourself? What is the image that you have constructed about yourself? You don't see with your eyes, but with your visual cortex. In other words, you see based on an experience from the past and not reality. One of the most powerful causes of fear is not having your real image well defined. Maybe you have built your own image based on external interferences, but it is time for you to activate inside yourself who you really are. Nathaniel Branden, a psychologist that actively worked on the psychology of self-image, he states that self-image is who or what we think we are. Our physical and psychological traits, our qualities and imperfections, our possibilities and limitations, our strengths and weaknesses. According to the same author, self-esteem is the willingness to experiment with yourself as a competent individual to be able to deal with basic life challenges and being worthy of happiness. Here, something very important comes up: comparison. The only person worth to be compared with is yourself in the past. Do not compare your story with someone else's. Only compare yourself with the best version you can be. While studying NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, I found the existence of an emotional window that opens at 7 years old and closes at 14 years old. In this window of time, you'll find the deepest absorption of emotional impact that will influence people for the rest of their lives. That is why we need to untie this emotional tie so you can move forward without this weight on your mind. The image that you have constructed about yourself, that you are looking in your soul right now, is it the right one you desire today? If you make the decision to change this, never go back. How do you see yourself? What is your true image in a single word? How about rewrite your self-image? Write down in front of each topic the qualities that you will focus on to develop from now on a new image of yourself. Thoughts: clean, serene. Eyes: good, visionary. Nose: to smell opportunities. Words: edifying. Ears: that do not allow toxic interferences. Fight or flight. As I have mentioned in chapter 4, the last phase of fear in the brain happens in the hypothalamus, which is the zone responsible for many functions, including the regulation of our emotional behavior. Our brain asks us the following question: are you going to fight or are you going to get away? This so-called fight or flight reaction, also known as acute stress, was described by the psychologist Walter Bradford in 1927. In his theory, Bradford says that animals, yes, you are a rational animal, react to threats with a common electric discharge from the nervous system, making you stay and fight or run away to protect yourself. These are the body responses you can experience: increased heartbeat, dilated pulmonary passages, constricted blood vessels, increased contractions from the esophagus, dilated pupils, adrenaline spike, sweating, increased blood pressure, and others. If you fight, get away, the fear reserves inside of you increases tremendously, and with this body response also increases. Your fear grows stronger for something that apparently could be a fantasy. Fear is like a monster that consumes itself. In other words, when you are afraid and does not face your fears, you are fueling to grow stronger inside of you. If you fight, do not worry about the results. Just know that your fear reserve will no longer grow. Confrontment will always produce maturity, and it will make you gain authority about the subject which appeared to be like a big giant before. If you win this fight, the fear reserves in your brain will shrink and you will begin to dominate the subject, giving you the experience to face even bigger fears. Facing fear is a process and it has its phases, its time and method. You need to create a personal strategy to deal with fear and achieve your goals. Have you ever thought about questioning yourself? A reflection about your fears is necessary. Ask yourself, what do I really fear? Write down below any answers that comes to your mind. Some fears seem to be reasonable while others are irrational, and many times it has motivations that you can't even recognize. But all of them provoke reactions that are linked to instincts without giving you the chance to think about the consequences. One of the most important steps is to know your fears. This is why you have to write them down. You cannot fight something you don't even know exists. Proactively face your fears. Search in your memory the first time you felt fear. Investigate the origin of your fears because it usually is associated with lack of information. If you, for example, are afraid of flying a plane, study about the subject and analyze the statistics about how many planes have gone down until today in comparison to accidents happening with other means of transportation. Searching the correct information will bring you freedom. Fear will make you feel impotent and miserable. In fact, fear makes you forget everything you are capable of facing. Fear is like a virus that eats you from the inside, paralyzes you, and incapacitates you. Everything without you even noticing. This is why it's so important for you to change your perspective and begin to reflect about what you face daily that demands virtue from you. Learn to recognize your abilities and virtues, to value your positive attitudes, and celebrate your successes, even the small ones. If you don't start celebrating your small victories, waiting to celebrate the big ones, when the big one come, you will want even bigger ones and you will never be happy and satisfied for doing a good job. Another very important point is the power of visualization. I have been experiencing amazing results and harvesting great fruits of a lifetime without unnecessary energy wasted, focusing in something that generates real results. Your success will be very related to this. What you do not visualize probably will never happen, and if it happens, it will take twice the time. Are you willing to wait longer just because you are not using a resource available to you? Visualize how your life would be without this fear limiting you and tormenting you. Imagine how everything would be different if you were not so afraid. Have you ever thought about how many more things you will be able to accomplish? Get closer to what causes you fear. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, get closer to this reality and go to speaking engagements. Get closer to the speakers. Try to connect with people who dominate the subject. Confront and face your fear. When you are afraid of something, the only thing you need is to visualize it. Never, for any reason, I will be passive against what causes me fear. I will always confront it. Refuse to be a victim of your fears. Fear must be afraid of you. Absolute mental control. Just like the engine in a racing car, your brain needs fine-tuning to explode to new results. One way to regulate your brain is to stabilize your temporary focus. Utilizing excess energy with the past and the future will disconnect you from the now. The ideal is 10% connected to the past, 20% connected to the future, 70% connected to the now. How is your focus right now? Write down the percentage that you're focusing in the past, in the future, and in the now. If you're able to operate with more than 70% energy in the now, your results will be extraordinary. Do you desire this? If you answered yes, you need to keep a guard in the door to your mind. Do not allow external events and circumstances affect your emotional state. Do you think this is not possible? Well, follow me in this story. Once upon a time, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins' mentor, told him, "Every day you have to put a guard in the door to your mind. Take good care of your coffee." Jim asked, "If your worst enemy put sugar in your coffee, how will it become?" Tony answered, "It will become sweet." "What if your best friend put toxins or venom in your coffee?" Jim asked again, and Tony responded, "I would die." Jim then said, "That is why you have to place this guard, because the same way you take good care of your coffee will be the way you take care of your life." I call this good blockage or cerebral shield. You truly are what you think about, what you think you believe to be. This is why you have to do a list of your enemies that could attack your cerebral barriers that are protecting your purpose. One of the most powerful phrases I read in my whole life is, "A person with an absolute mental control, total control, is not alienated to anything." This absolute control is achieved by knowing and understanding your own feelings, adapt yourself to situations, and express what you think in a healthy way to yourself and to others. When you have the control about who you really are, where you want to go and know your true identity, nothing and nobody will be able to stop you from achieving what you desire. In fact, it is already yours. Just stop getting in the way of your desires. Can you do that? Create a list of 10 good blockages or cerebral shields that you will start using from now on. Inspirational modeling. The best learning method in history is modeling after something or someone. Modeling after is when you observe something that is interesting in someone, and normally you don't have, then you decipher that person, observe the person's behaviors, and start impressing this behavior in your own reality with your own identity and own characteristics. I have a video on YouTube with Victor Azevedo that we talk about pieces of Lego that each person possesses. But to build something, maybe I have two pieces that are the same and I need to exchange it with someone. Modeling after is like this. You take the Lego piece from someone or exchange it however you prefer. Modeling after is not copying. It is a way of social learning developed by Albert Bandura, who says the behavior can be learned by observing and modeling after. It is observing and modeling after, in this case, copying, that children learn how to talk and how to play, for example. Bandura brought the idea that people can learn directly or indirectly with others. Suppose that a company's employee wins an award for his or her professional performance. This behavior will be reinforced by this employee so he can be recognized again in the future for his performance. The other coworkers, if they want to grow and model after the awarded employee, will have to perform like him or her because they noticed that good performance will generate rewards and appreciation. This means that modeling after the behavior of the awarded employee is a form of social learning. You can, for example, model after books like this one that you're reading right now. Notice that in this book, I share a lot of my personal stories, my perspectives, and things that to me make sense. That being said, if you want to model after me and take your Lego pieces that I possess, but cannot connect with me personally, you are able to do this by reading my books, watching my videos, or even doing my online courses. What is your excuse to not model after someone you admire? Through all my life, I have been modeling after different people and absorbed behaviors that I don't have, but I see they do. This is why I have mentors in my life, people that I have been modeling after to develop areas of my life in which I don't dominate easily or I don't have a natural ability. I will share with you a list of people who inspire me and I model after in certain areas of my life. 1. Aloysio Silva, Wisdom and Prosperity. 2. Paul Washer, Intensity and Passion. 3. Juliano Marçal, Constancy and Reading Habits. 4. Karen Tsilikis, Capitalization and Reports. 5. Alexandre Rodrigues, Nobleness and Respect. 6. Eduardo Rodovalho, Love and Activation. 7. Daniel Goleman, Emotions Management. 8. Napoleon Hill, Liberty and Mastermind. 9. Divino Carvalho, Generosity and Humility. 10. Augusto Miranda, Awakening and Inspiration. And how about you? What is your list of 10 people that you model after? People who inspire you to be better and move forward in areas of your life that you need to grow. Remember that the biggest sabotage you can do with yourself is walk alone. This is the worst way of trying to achieve results. Studies from Buffalo University in New York have proven that isolating yourself from social contexts for a long period of time can change your brain in the way that will make you want to be even more isolated. This means that the more time you walk alone, the more you will want to stay that way. The biggest problem of this is that human beings are meant to be social. We were created to establish relationships, even if many resist this fact. When the architect of the universe made you, he had one objective: intimacy through a true friendship. He wanted to establish this with you ever since He created all things and wanted to give you the domain of it all. Someone who isolates is going to against the wisdom of our Creator and cancels all the possibilities around them. If you still don't have these people to model after, go and find them. Do not forget, having relationships is a way to be united with what God really loves, people. If you are not creating relationships, you're going against your Creator's will for you. You need to understand the grandiosity of having relationships with people, giving to them something you have, and receiving from them something you don't. Think about the qualities of 7 people you need to model after in order to achieve extraordinary results and list their names below. True love defeats all fear. There are a few authors that I love in a special way. One of them is Aldous Huxley. Follow me in what he says about love and fear in this passage from Ape and Essence. Love casts out fear, but conversely, fear casts out love. And not only love, fear also casts out intelligence, casts out goodness, casts out all thought of beauty and truth. And in an instant, his quiet terror is transmutated into a frenzy as violent as is futile. There is no longer a man among his fellow men, no longer a rational being speaking articulately to other rational beings. There is only a lacerated animal screaming and struggling in the trap. For in the end, fear casts out even a man's humanity. I decided to put this passage in my book because nothing is clearer than this passage. Love has the power to eliminate fear, but fear can eliminate all that is good in mankind, including its own humanity. Do you understand how serious this is? If you don't love people, you can become a subhuman, a zombie, or anything other than a person who really cares about others. I don't know about your story, and maybe you believe you have many reasons to be like you are. Maybe you need to forgive yourself about your past for being someone uninterested to others. Just know that the cure you need and you are looking for can only be achieved when you decide to love others. Believe me when I say that someone, somewhere, needs exactly what you have to offer. Do you know how to wash a river? Just let the water flow. This seems simple, but if you truly understand this, your life will be transformed as well as the lives of people around you. Do you wish to wash your river just by letting the water that coming from the source, removing the impurities, then running clear water over you? Unfortunately, there is a way to create a barrier in your river and stop from flowing. This barrier is called fear. Because of the fear you cultivate inside of you, you get closer to other irrational animals and get further away from who you were born to be. You lose your essence because of fear. You lose your identity. Love offers roots and wings to people. Our Creator gives you a sense of belonging, roots, and sense of liberty, wings. Have you ever thought about being this tree? Have you ever desired freedom? So why do you lock yourself in? You are your own prison guard. Love is different than fear. Do not try to control or manipulate people. A jailed bird can't fly. You need to set it free. You need to release it. You need to release yourself. Why are you still doing this to yourself? As I mentioned before, fear holds most people. But when we know who we are free to surpass all our potential. But for this, we need to act with trust in God and not in fear. Fear is one of the feelings that most influence people, but this can be changed. Fear cannot be your destiny. Why don't you change this right now? Do you know people who are afraid of losing their loved ones? There are people who want to control the destiny of other people, but whoever the Creator gives you, spouse, children, friends, etc., you need to learn to hold freely in your hands. If you don't have anything, you have nothing to lose. You are the servant, not the master or the Lord of your children. Your children belong to the Creator, and He gave them something called free will. Understand that maybe your children will make choices that you will not agree with or even understand it, but the choices are theirs and not yours. Not everyone can understand your path. After all, this is your path, not theirs. The same way you have to let your children and other people be free to lead their paths. It is their paths, not yours. A person filled with love is capable of freeing other people and other things. This person does this because it understands the price of freedom, because one day this person felt true love. Only know how to love and not to have fear who experience true love. Do you feel loved by yourself? Do you feel loved by God? In the most read book in history, there's a passage that says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfectly in love." Fear breaks the trust. This is why who lives in fear lives in torment. In contrast, the one who loves and feels loved truly establishes an alliance in trust and a true friendship with the Creator. Perfecting yourself in love is having the conviction and live in the love of our Creator. It is activating your identity as a loved son of the Father and understanding that He loves you because He chose to love you. It was not the amount that you did or how perfect you did that convinced Him. He loves you and wants to be your friend because it's His true nature. Stop where you are, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale through your mouth. One more time. Feel this love and this experience overflowing in you. Feel the heart in your chest and your mind being filled with trust, with the conviction of His love. Allow all fear, all insecurities, all worry to leave from you right now. Love is freedom. Our Creator makes us His likeness. And this is why we can never resist to this love that follows us. Angels are bigger than man in size, but smaller in glory. They are obligated to serve God, but we are not. Free will gives us the liberty to love Him or not. Never try to hold someone you love because this is not love. God never wanted to hold Adam in Eden's garden. This is why He created the tree of knowledge of good and evil as the only way Adam would live. This is the proof of true love. Adam, you are free to stay or to go. What do you prefer? His answer is the same as yours, who is always searching for things outside of yourself, always worried about other people's opinion, and is highly dependent of other people's approval. You are suffering from this right now. The Master replanted the garden inside of you and chose to live there. This is why the only way is inside of you. Fear makes you search for something outside that you can only find inside of you. Desired state. Today, you find yourself a certain way, with a certain mental state, with certain attitudes. But the big question is, are you satisfied with your results, with the life you've been living? If the answer is no, you need to trace a path from your current situation to your desired state. In this state, you will find yourself happier, with tranquility and prosperity in every way. Your current state is how you find yourself today, and your desired state is where you want to go. And between who you are now and who you want to become, there's a big gap and there's a bridge that needs to be crossed. People with well defined objectives have more success in what they commit to do. Do not let conflicts and problems you find along the way defeat you. Use your challenges in favor to be able to get to your desired state. A person who knows what he or she wants desires this with every fiber of his or her body, and because of this, this person won't drift from his or her path and won't allow any obstacle prevent him or her to get there. A person who has desired state well defined project himself to the moment the objective is achieved, and this will activate something inside of them to stop them from giving up or retreat. People who don't know where they want to go, they take any path, utilize any means of transportation, and end up frustrated. It is possible to walk with no sense of direction. If you don't know where you want to go, any path is acceptable. To feel a complete sense of accomplishment, what we are doing now needs to make sense. Our current life needs to make sense. Otherwise, we will live under extreme pressure and stress, which is not physically, mentally, or much less spiritually healthy. To achieve your desired state, you need to build the path. Contrary to what most people think, this path is not conquered but built. There are no shortcuts between your current state to your desired state. Between current state and desired state, you need to build the blocks to be able to go from one point to another. Maybe you think, to get where I want to be, I need to erase my entire history. Do not fool yourself. The only way to cross the valley of limitations is through bridges. Talking about bridges, do you know how a bridge is built? To build a bridge, first you need the columns. Between your current state and your desired state, you need at least two strong columns. The first one is a relationship with our Creator. The second one is a relationship with people who dominate the subject. You need to understand that relationships are the key for success. 85% of your results will depend on the people you will connect with. I am the living proof of this. This is exactly why relationships are the base of these columns. After the column is structured, you need to start putting the modules to build your bridge. The first one is knowledge. This is related to what you know, acquired knowledge, to your study, and where you wish to get, and what needs to be done to get there. The second module is wisdom. You can only conquer wisdom by doing it, repeating and practicing. When you execute the task you had previously planned to do, you are acquiring wisdom. The third and last module of your bridge is dominate. Dominating about something is gaining authority about the subject. It's teaching about something you already know, that you have wisdom about, and you dominate. Every time you dominate an area, you gain peace in that subject. And peace is what most people search but do not find, simply because they don't have self-discipline. Self-discipline is dominating three areas of your life: your tongue, your sexual impulses, and your eating habits. If you are being dominated by one of these areas, your self-discipline is being seriously compromised. How well are you dominating these three areas? Give a rating from 0 to 10 for each of these areas and establish a real and practical task to improve your score before you finish reading this book. Controlling your tongue. Score from 0 to 10. What is your task to improve your score? Controlling your sexual impulses. Score from 0 to 10. Task to improve your score. Controlling your eating habits. Score from 0 to 10. Task to improve your score. Now that you have learned how to control your tongue, your sexual impulses, and your eating habits, develop the following activity really carefully. Be very attentive because you are about to reach everything you have ever wished for and what you desire the most, your desired state. But to do this, you must design the paths, even if they are short and simple, to get where you want to be. Design your objectives in a clear and reachable way. Write down 10 objectives you want to quickly achieve in order to start building your desired state. Anti-fear. It is a neologism transformed by me. I was inspired by Napoleon Hill in his book Outwitting the Devil and by Nassim Taleb in his book Anti-Fragile. I have created a workshop with this theme and I thought, people will not leave their house to see a workshop with this name. You know what happened? I have never felt like a powerful speaker until I launched this workshop. Some events, people watch sitting on the floor because there are no more chairs, or from the outside because the space of the event is completely full. You have to learn something. Everything that happens to you is good. Everything. What you don't immediately like will bring you immediate joy. You will produce good fruits and growth. Everything that happens to you is to create resilience and make you go further. You never lose. Either you win or you learn. How can you lose anything? You are a winner and you can't experience defeat. Defeat happens with people who did not discover who they really are, therefore, they don't have their identity activated. Do not run away from failure because failing is good. You gain maturity in the subject and you will learn to do it differently next time. Frustration is a feeling of impotence, an emotional response that happens when certain desires and expectations are not met. We need to learn how to deal with frustration and redirect this feeling in a way that will create positive results. If you don't resolve your frustrations, you can become unmotivated and end up abandoning all of the goals of the biggest project you have, your own life. Like any other emotion, frustration needs to be controlled and redirected in a way you're able to face all difficulties and embarrassments that daily life presents us. It is important to remember that frustrations are a temporary feeling, a state of uncertainty that does not define you as a person. Like I always say, happiness is permanent, sadness is temporary. People are unhappy because they lack emotional intelligence. What happens is that as you gain maturity, small disagreements will no longer bother you and you can resolve any situation with intelligence. People controlled by fear are unhappy. I had many fears: fear of being broke, fear of dying, fear of getting old, fear of criticism, fear of height, and the worst fear of all, which is fear of living. That's right. In my evaluation, the worst fear you can have is the fear to live. You have a life that was created for you, a life that is yours, and it was designed for you even before the foundation of the world. But you resist. Can you tell me why? Why do you resist a life of happiness, prosperity, and full of peace and self control? Why are you doing this? Can you explain to me why you're not living a life of extraordinary results if everything you need already exists and you are the biggest resource there is? Do you like mediocrity, unhappiness, scarcity, Do you like to go through tough times? No? So why don't you free yourself from this cage? The door is open, you just need to fly. Being afraid of living makes no sense. Believe me, life was made so you can enjoy, not in a crazy way, but in a wise manner. You have a power within you capable of connecting to other people, impact lives, nations, generations, humanity, the future, but you do not use it. Do you know why? Because you are afraid of being bold, of acting. Fear of acting, this one is terrible too. If everything is already yours, why don't you simply take possession of it? Now that you really got to the end, if this seed is planted in your mind and you perform the tasks proposed in this book, you just activated something you thought it was impossible: invincibility. And when you begin experimenting this superpower, you will understand why so many people have been able to accomplish amazing things and you stayed idle for so long. There's no chance of losing when you activate this kind of mental armor. You will never lose again. You will either win or learn. Are you truly ready? I will say this again. There is not a way that you can lose. You always win, one way or another. Are you ready to fly? So never look back. Just step out of this cage that held you once and made you miss your soul, miss things that your eyes could never see. One of the things that I love the most in life is relationship. This is the universal key that unlocks any door. It just doesn't open it. Change is like a door handle that only opens from the inside. I am sure that if you read this book until the end, your door is already unlocked. I swear I would like to open this door for you, but this is an attitude only you can take. You need to want to open this door. I hope that by now you have already cried, screamed, or broken something when you realized you had so many fears and alienations. Yes, I hope you have opened this door that will never be closed again. In case you haven't done the tasks contained in this book in the next 30 days and released yourself from this fear that locked you in for so long, just gift this book to someone else who really desired this change. If you want to personally contact me, and maybe this is the first time you see a writer do this, from any place of the world, you can send me a message with your feedback and testimonial after reading this book. My number is 5562-98558-6375. Are you really ready? Close this book and give a big shout of freedom wherever you are and never ever look back. We shall see each other on the other side of the bridge. Repeat after me. I am invincible because he who never lost is inside of me. Wishing you blessings, Pablo Marçal. Who is Pablo Marçal? Born to activate identities and reveal the purpose in people who connect with him. A normal person without great physical abilities, but with ample domination of his mental abilities and spiritual gifts. Possess precious secrets about success and high performance that will activate you once you personally connect with him. Performed more than 3,000 hours of coaching and individual mentorship. Directly impacted the lives of over 100,000 people in his speaks and workshops and already surpassed 20,000 hours performing trainings all over Brazil and the world. Pablo has a bachelor's degree in law, specialized in andragogy, master in business with an American degree by ATT, major in management, theologist, branding expert, writer of more than 13 books about personal development, graduated in 3 of the most renowned coaching academies with international certification, serial entrepreneur with investments in many different areas: construction, real estate, M&A, business investments, consulting, business school, marketing agency, mentorship, and coaching. In the business world, Pablo is recognized as an authority in business strategy, sales strategy, branding, and financing. At 23 years of age, Pablo was the youngest executive of Brasil Telecom, overseeing over 5,000 people, hundreds of projects, and big companies. From nothing, he made his first million by the age of 27, consulted for more than 50 brands in the last decade, and achieved many records during this time. He believes that a person's results are determined by the sources of energy this person possesses. The first of them is an intimate relationship with the creator of the universe. The second is self-love, and the third is family. He is happily married to Ana Carolina, the most beautiful woman, most intelligent and noble that his eyes has ever seen, father of 3 boys and a beautiful little girl.